Hi, I'm Ashley Harwood and I am a professional wood turner. Now I've been working really hard in the last few months on building out this office space. This is going to be a place where we're going to be creating and editing the videos and packaging and shipping out tools, any number of things. I've framed out a couple of closets in this room on my own, but when it comes to building some really nice doors, that is not maybe something that I feel like I have the expertise to tackle. So I actually have another woodworker friend of mine who's going to come by and teach me how to make walnut veneer plywood core doors. So think of like the walnut version of an Oreo cookie. Charlie is a custom furniture maker. He's also an instructor at the College of Building Arts here in Charleston. And he is a fellow woodworking nerd. It's always good to have people to go 10 feet deep with. And hopefully he'll be getting me to make things flat today. Shall we get started?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right. What's the width that we're going to be going for when we mill these down, and how many of those do we think we can get out of each of these 8/4 boards?
I think I was just measuring the board and it's a little over 2, so 2+ is great. And milling wise, I think we'll shoot for 1/2 inch.
So we should be able to get maybe 3 of those out of each board, or 4?
I would hope 4. The blade kerf is pretty small on the bandsaw, yeah. So I mean,
that'd be awesome.
Yeah, if we do a conservative 1/2 inch, we can probably split the difference for each curve.
Charlie and I are picking through some boards that I've set aside and choosing which ones will be best for this project. We're going to have the easiest time with straighter boards that don't have a lot of knots or cracks in them. For some projects, those elements add interest, but for this one, it would make sawing the thinner veneers a bit more difficult. Once we've culled the boards, we're cutting them to length. My doors are going to be 99 inches tall, so we will leave a few extra inches and cut these to 104. Again, we're checking for any flaws in the wood and cutting these off if we can. Once we get everything cut, it's time to load up into Charlie's van and head on over to his shop. Not all woodworking shops are the same. There is a big difference between how my studio is set up and how Charlie's shop is set up. For one, he's a lot more organized than I am. But because Charlie's primary focus is flat work and my primary focus is turning and teaching, they are very different spaces. All right, so we've got a plan here. We are going to cut down these pieces of plywood to 16 inches wide, and that way we'll be able to put a strip of walnut on either side to make each door be 18 inches. The plan is it's going to be French doors on both sides, so 2 doors opening outwards like this. Each door will be approximately 18 inches wide, so 16 inches of plywood and a band of walnut on either side. Once we get these pieces of plywood cut down and free up a little more space in here, we're going to be taking the walnut boards over to the joiner, and we're going to make one flat face on the side and on the bottom of each one. Something that I feel is important for any craftsperson to be comfortable with is the idea of lots and lots of repetition. Each board that we run through the joiner has to be run multiple times on each side, and we've got 6 of these long boards to run through. Then there's a whole bunch of passes through the bandsaw. To make a living, any craftsperson has to do a whole lot of the same thing over and over again. I try to approach this as a deliberate practice, striving to be more accurate and more intentional each time and with each pass. And remind myself that I would rather be doing this than sitting at a desk any day. Setting up the bandsaw, right?
Yeah. Okay, so here on this bandsaw, I put an auxiliary higher fence on here just to give a little bit more support. The board that we're doing, I believe is 7.5, so there's a gauge here that I'm going up to. The blade that I'm using, the blade that we have on here is a carbide blade, and everything should be tuned up and set up and kind of ready to rock and roll. The idea is that we're going to set how deep or how thick a piece we're going to cut and then push it through. I guess the big one with the bandsaw is let the blade do the cutting.
Right.
But
now, to keep that flat edge that we just cut on the joiner, we're going to move the fence each time we do another layer, right? Is that right?
No, generally the way I do it is I set the blade for the thickness that we want out of the slice.
And then the bandsawed surface will be flat enough to put against the fence to do the next slice?
It should be, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, cool. For all the precautions that we take to be safe, of course, it's when we're emptying the dustbin that I get something in my eye. Hazards of the job, I suppose. So we have our first slice of veneer here. So veneer is basically just a thinly sliced piece of wood that typically wraps around something else. And in this case, we're going to use the walnut veneer on the outside of these plywood pieces. Now, the plywood is going to offer a lot more stability. Wood is constantly moving and it's constantly changing with fluctuations in temperature and humidity. If we were to make these doors out of solid walnut, they would be moving a lot more than they will be having this plywood core in the middle. Plywood is actually a whole bunch of different layers of veneer, and the grain is alternating between this way, this way, this way, this way, so it's a lot more stable. We have 24 pieces of 104-inch long veneer that we need to run through the planer. What was that I was saying about repetition? So Charlie, how do you think we did?
I think we're there. We're ready to glue up now.
Sweet. All right, so the next step then is gluing all this veneer together and then making our Oreo sandwich, gluing it onto the plywood, right?
That's right.
All right, tune in for next week's video, guys. Till then. Thank you so much for watching. If you like what you saw, I do hope that you'll hit subscribe, and don't forget the little notifications bell to make sure that you don't miss any of my upcoming videos. I would like to take this time to say thank you so much to all of my Patreon members. Your support means the world, especially right now, and really helps for us to continue to produce high quality photos and videos. Also, if you would like a behind the scenes look at my business and my production work, or if you would like a heads up about when I'll be scheduling my next classes, you can click on the links below to become a member on my Patreon page. I would also like to give a big shout out to my top tier patrons: David Matheson, Leonard Crowell, Steve Snyder, Erica Vane, Chris Jones, Andrew Nidell, Chris Cairns, Robert Hunt, aka Mr. Bodog, Jim Tate, and Alan Bally. Thank you so much for your support. And that's all, folks, so till next time, everybody stay safe.